Hi, welcome. Enjoy the content, subscribe, and turn on notifications.
Ryan had always believed that building something from the ground up required sacrifice, dedication, and, above all, trust in the right people. At 34, he owned a bathtub manufacturing plant that employed 42 people and supplied retailers across 3 states. The business had started with a modest loan and many sleepless nights, but now it thrived enough for Ryan to feel proud of what he'd accomplished. Lauren, his 33-year-old wife, had stood by him throughout that journey. Working as a marketing assistant at a boutique agency, she was outgoing, charming, and loved social events. Ryan was more reserved, preferring small group conversations to noisy parties, but he appreciated how Lauren lit up any room she entered. The factory's year-end party took place in December, a tradition Ryan kept to thank his employees for their hard work. That year, he rented a spacious venue with Christmas-themed decorations, hired a full-service caterer, and even booked a DJ. Lauren got excited when Ryan invited her, saying it would be the perfect opportunity to get to know the factory staff better. She chose a red dress that highlighted her figure, wore flawless makeup, and heels that made her steps sound confident on the wooden floor. Ryan wore a dark suit without a tie, a middle ground between formal and relaxed. When they arrived, the party was already in full swing. Loud music, colorful lights flashing on the ceiling, tables overflowing with food and drinks. Ryan moved through the crowd, greeting each employee and thanking them for their year of hard work. Lauren accompanied him at first, smiling and asking polite questions about their families. Ryan noticed she was talking quite a bit with Marcus, the 37-year-old production manager who'd worked at the factory for 4 years. Marcus was competent, punctual, and had never given Ryan any reason for concern. Ryan considered him a valuable employee. Around 10 p.m., Ryan was chatting with the logistics supervisor when he realized Lauren was no longer beside him. He looked around, assuming she'd gone to the restroom or to the drink table. 15 minutes passed and she didn't return. Ryan texted her, "Honey, where are you?" No reply. He walked through the venue, asked a female employee to check inside the women's restroom, nothing. He asked a few others if they'd seen Lauren. One of the secretaries said she'd seen her heading out to the backyard garden with Marcus about half an hour earlier. Ryan felt a strange pang in his stomach but pushed away any negative thoughts. Maybe they were just talking. He went out to the garden, a patio area with a few tables and chairs under LED string lights. It was empty. He went back inside and sent 2 more messages to Lauren. Still nothing. An hour passed. Ryan started to genuinely worry, and get slightly annoyed. Why wasn't she answering? He called, straight to voicemail. 2 hours after she'd disappeared, Lauren finally reappeared, coming in through the garden with a casual smile on her face. Her hair was slightly messy, and her lipstick was a little smudged around her mouth. Ryan went straight to her. "Lauren, where were you? I've been calling you non-stop." Lauren laughed, a laugh that sounded forced to Ryan's ears. "Relax, honey. I was hanging out with some folks outside. Marcus and a few others were smoking and telling funny stories from the factory. Time just flew by." Ryan frowned. 2 hours? And why didn't you reply to my messages? Lauren grabbed her purse and checked her phone. "Wow, I didn't even notice. Must have been on silent. Sorry, baby." She kissed him quickly on the cheek and headed to the bar for another drink. Ryan stood there watching her. Something felt off, but he couldn't quite put his finger on it. The party ended around midnight. On the drive home, Lauren was unusually chatty, gushing about how much she'd enjoyed meeting Ryan's co-workers, how funny Marcus was, how great the party had been. Ryan drove in silence, responding with one-word answers. When they got home, Lauren went straight to the bathroom to shower, an odd move, since she usually removed her makeup first. Ryan stayed in the living room, still unsettled but decided he was being paranoid. The next morning, Ryan woke up early as usual. Lauren was still asleep. He made coffee and checked emails on his laptop. Around 8, his phone started vibrating non-stop, messages from unknown numbers, social media notifications, all at once. Confused, Ryan opened his messaging app. Dozens of people he barely knew had sent the same video link with messages like, "Dude, is that your wife?" or "Ryan, you need to see this," or just shocked emojis. His hands began to shake as he clicked the link. The video played, clearly shot on a phone, from above, decent quality. Ryan immediately recognized his factory's admin office, his own desk in the background. And there, against the side wall, were Lauren and Marcus, kissing passionately, his hands on her hips, hers around his neck. The red dress Ryan had admired just hours earlier was now being gripped by another man's hands. The video lasted 23 seconds. When it ended, Ryan just stared at the black screen. He didn't know how long he sat there motionless, could have been seconds or minutes. His mind processed the information in layers, first denial, this can't be real, then confirmation, that's definitely her, then anger, in my office, then humiliation, everyone's seen it. He checked social media. The video already had over 50,000 views and was being shared wildly. Cruel comments, speculation, people tagging others. Some of his own employees wrote things like, "I knew something was off," or "It finally leaked." It finally leaked. That meant more people knew. Ryan felt nauseous. He went to the bedroom, where Lauren was still peacefully asleep, her back to the door. Ryan stood in the doorway, watching the woman he'd been married to for 6 years. How many times had she done this? How many lies had he swallowed without question? He returned to the living room, picked up his phone, and called Thomas, his lawyer, and friend since college. Thomas answered on the third ring. "Ryan, I saw the video. Man, I'm so sorry." His voice was serious, heavy. "Everyone's seen it," Ryan replied, his voice strangely calm. "I need to know my rights. I want a divorce. Today, if possible." Thomas took a deep breath. "I'll get the paperwork ready. But first, you have security cameras at the factory, right?" Ryan confirmed. "We need that footage. If we can prove the affair happened during business hours, on company property, it strengthens your position. It also protects you from any claims of abandonment or anything like that." Ryan hung up and texted Carl, the technician in charge of the factory's security system, "I need all recordings from the past 6 months. Especially the admin office. Urgent." Carl replied within minutes, "Sure thing." "Anything wrong?" Ryan typed back, "Just send me everything. Today." Then he got dressed, brewed a strong pot of coffee, and waited for Lauren to wake up. She came downstairs around 9:30, wearing a robe, her hair in a messy bun. "Morning, honey. Why didn't you wake me?" She poured herself coffee, completely unaware. Ryan sat at the kitchen table, his phone face down in front of him. "Lauren, we need to talk." His tone made her freeze mid-pour. "About what?" Ryan flipped the phone over, showing a paused frame of the video, the exact moment she and Marcus were kissing. "About this." Color drained from Lauren's face. The cup nearly slipped from her hand. "Ryan, let me explain." He raised his hand, cutting her off. 50,000 people have seen this video so far. My employees, clients, suppliers, my family, everyone. So I suggest you choose your words very carefully. Lauren set the cup down in the sink, her hands visibly trembling. "It was a mistake. A stupid thing. We were drunk. 2 hours, Lauren. You disappeared for 2 hours last night." Ryan stood up and walked until he was just a few feet from her. "And judging by the comments, this wasn't the first time. How long has it been going on?" Lauren started crying, but they were tears of panic, not remorse. A few months, 3, maybe 4. Ryan, please, it was just sex. It didn't mean anything. Ryan let out a dry, humorless laugh. Just sex. In my office? With my employee? While everyone else at the company knew except me? Lauren tried to step closer, but Ryan backed away. Don't touch me. The coldness in his voice was sharp. Who recorded the video? Lauren wiped her tears. I don't know. Someone must have walked in and filmed us without us noticing. Ryan shook his head. Funny how you're worried about who filmed it, not about betraying your husband in his own company during a party where you were supposed to be my guest. He grabbed his phone and dialed. Lauren asked, "Who are you calling?" Ryan didn't answer. Marcus answered with a groggy voice. Hello? Ryan said, Marcus, it's Ryan. You're fired. Come pick up your things at the factory by noon today. Leave your keys and ID badge at reception. If you don't show, I'll mail everything and sue you for emotional damages. Silence on the other end. Then, Ryan, man, Ryan hung up before he could finish. Lauren leaned against the sink, sobbing. You can't do that. He has a family. Ryan stared at her with an expression she'd never seen before. He should have thought of that before getting involved with his boss's wife. And you should have thought about the consequences before throwing away 6 years of marriage for a few months of sex that meant nothing. He went to the bedroom, grabbed a suitcase, and started filling it with Lauren's clothes. She followed him upstairs. What are you doing? You're going to your mom's or a friend's. I don't care. But you're not sleeping here tonight. Lauren grabbed his arm. Ryan, please. We can fix this. Couples therapy, anything. I love you. Ryan stopped and looked at her hand on his arm. Love me? You love the stability I provide. You love the house, the car, the status of being the factory owner's wife. But love me? If you did, you would have thought of me when you were pressing your mouth against another man. He finished packing the suitcase, slammed it shut, and handed it to her. My lawyer will contact you. You can take your car. I'm changing the locks this afternoon. Lauren was pale and shaken, but something in her expression shifted. She became defensive. You're not perfect, Ryan. You've always been obsessed with work. You never paid attention to me. Marcus made me feel desired. Ryan nodded slowly. So it's my fault for working hard to build something that supports our life? Interesting. But you know the difference between us? When I felt neglected, I talked to you. I didn't go sleep with my assistant. Lauren grabbed the suitcase, walked downstairs, and slammed the door behind her. Ryan heard her car start and drive away. He stood alone in the silent house as the adrenaline finally faded. Then the sharp, deep pain hit, not just from the betrayal, but from the public humiliation, the feeling of having been made a fool of, the likelihood that people had been laughing behind his back for months. But Ryan didn't have time to fall apart. He went straight to the factory. When he arrived, the atmosphere was tense, employees whispered, conversations stopped when he walked by. Ryan headed straight to the admin office, where Carl was already waiting with an external hard drive. It's all here. 6 months of footage. Ryan, there's a lot. Ryan took the drive. Thanks, Carl. Keep this between us for now. Carl nodded, clearly uncomfortable. Ryan spent the afternoon in his office with the doors closed, watching the recordings. And Carl was right, there was a lot. At least 15 separate instances over 6 months of Lauren and Marcus in the office, always during work hours when Ryan was on the production floor or in outside meetings. They didn't just get physical, they talked, laughed, planned secret meetups. In one clip, Lauren said, "He'll never suspect a thing. He's too busy with the new orders." Marcus replied, "What if someone tells?" Lauren laughed. "Who'd have the guts to tell the boss?" Ryan's stomach turned. It wasn't just the physical betrayal, it was the cold calculation, the premeditation, the contempt in her words. He copied everything, organized it by date, and sent it to Thomas. His lawyer called an hour later. "Ryan, this is gold. With this evidence, you won't pay a cent in alimony. We can prove clear adultery, misuse of your property, and we've still got the public video as backup." Lauren has no defense. The next day, Ryan called a company-wide meeting. All 42 employees were present. He stepped onto the small platform usually used for announcements. "Good morning, everyone. I know there's a video circulating involving my wife and a former employee of this company. I'm not going to pretend it didn't happen. It did, and it happened on this company's property, which is unacceptable." Complete silence. Marcus was fired for just cause. "Any employee who knew about this affair and didn't tell me has betrayed my trust just as much as he did." He let the words hang. 3 people looked down, clearly guilty. "I'm not starting a witch hunt. But from today on, any inappropriate behavior in this company will be met with zero tolerance. This is a workplace, not a place for extramarital affairs. I hope that's clear." He stepped down and returned to his office. Later, 2 employees knocked on his door. They confessed they'd known for months but hadn't had the courage to speak up. Ryan didn't fire them but made it clear their trust was damaged. Meanwhile, the video kept spreading. Lauren lost 3 client contracts at her agency, clients who knew Ryan and refused to work with her on ethical grounds. The agency put her on unpaid leave to protect the company's image. Marcus faced consequences too. His wife, who he'd hidden from Lauren, saw the video and filed for immediate divorce. He lost his job and his reputation, since the bathtub manufacturing industry in the region was small and everyone knew each other. Ryan threw himself into work. He arrived at the factory at 6 a.m. and left at 8 p.m. It was better than being home, where every room held a memory of Lauren. Thomas handled the divorce with surgical precision. Lauren tried to contest it, claiming she deserved half the assets because she'd supported Ryan in building the business. Thomas presented the footage proving she'd used his workplace for the affair, an act of disrespect and bad faith. The judge had no doubts. Divorce granted, no alimony. Lauren kept only the car already in her name and half of their joint account, which didn't even reach $20,000. 3 months later, Ryan saw Lauren at the grocery store. She was in the checkout line, looking tired, her hair dull, her clothes simple. She saw him too. For a moment, they just stared at each other. She opened her mouth as if to speak, then closed it. Her eyes were red, dark circles underneath. Ryan gave a brief nod and walked on with his groceries. He didn't feel anger. Didn't feel sadness. Just, nothing. And he realized that was the real ending. Lauren had moved into a small apartment across town, was unemployed, and scraping by with sporadic freelance gigs. Marcus had vanished from the area, telling the few contacts he had left that he was starting over in another state. The video eventually faded from social media, replaced by newer scandals and viral tragedies. But in small communities, memories last longer. Ryan, meanwhile, expanded the factory. He hired a new production manager, a highly competent woman recommended by a supplier. He implemented stricter conduct policies, installed more visible cameras, and set clear rules. The company grew by 20% the following year. He started going out more, accepted dinner and event invitations from friends. He wasn't looking for a relationship, but he was no longer closed off to the possibility. A year after that fateful party, Ryan organized another year-end celebration. This time, he rented a different venue, brighter, more open, fewer dark corners. He walked among his employees, genuinely thanking them for their work. Many had become loyal in a way he'd never experienced before, a loyalty born not from obligation, but from mutual respect after he'd handled the crisis publicly and with dignity. Midway through the party, Sarah, the new production manager, approached him with 2 glasses of champagne. A toast to the past year. It was intense, but we came out stronger. Ryan took a glass and smiled. It really was intense. But you're right, we're stronger. They clinked glasses. Ryan looked around and saw employees laughing, dancing, truly celebrating. He realized he'd built something solid, not just as a business, but as a community. Later, driving home alone, Ryan briefly thought of Lauren, not with anger or bitterness, but with distant acceptance. She'd made her choices, he'd made his, and now they were both living with the consequences. He didn't forgive her, didn't need to. He'd simply moved on, and that was more than enough. When Ryan walked into his house that night, the house that no longer felt empty, but simply his, he realized something fundamental. Lauren's betrayal hadn't defined him. The public humiliation hadn't broken him. He'd chosen to stand up, act quickly and with dignity, protect what he'd built, and refuse to let someone else's toxicity permanently stain his life. And as he turned off the lights and headed upstairs to bed, Ryan knew he'd made the right choices, not because they were easy, but because they were necessary. And in the end, necessity and justice had walked hand in hand, not delivering dramatic revenge, but something far more valuable, genuine peace and the freedom to start over, unburdened by someone who never truly valued him. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss any updates. See you next time.